Hey, friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to Hot Takes. This is the show where you give me your hot takes and then I take a look at them. Let's go ahead and dive into it. First up from Braden Loader, says Bad Bloodline should 1,000% win this Saturday if they want any credibility going into War Games. Let's think about this. So, what do you suggest happens? Roman Reigns eats a pin in his first match back since WrestleMania? No, not gonna happen. Cody Rhodes eats a pin for the first time in, I don't know when the last time he ate a pin was. Was it Brock Lesnar? I don't know what it was. In any event, neither of these guys are going to eat a pin. Neither of these guys are going to submit. Neither of these guys are going to pass out. At best, maybe, just maybe, Bad Bloodline has a chance at like a double DQ or something. But then again, this is going to main event, so I don't think that's going to listen. Cody and Roman are the mega powers. All right. Now, Cody has hinted at some sort of like video package thing that's going to play at Bad Bloodline, which has The Rock sending in like an iPhone message, like one of his awesome iPhone promos that he did during the build to WrestleMania this past year. So I kind of feel like maybe at Bad Blood, the Bad Bloodline is going to, their leader, their real leader, not Solo Sikoa, their real leader is going to be revealed. And I think that's going to be The Rock, and maybe they'll set up, I guess Cody said something about the Crown Jewel title match there is going to be set up through whatever this video vignette is going to be. Now, maybe I'm just looking too deep into it. I don't know. I do think that it would be more interesting for The Rock to be behind the whole Bad Bloodline thing. Like, of course, he's the final boss and Solo Sikoa is the next final boss. So I understand what you're saying. I understand. I get it. The Bad Bloodline, they need that credibility. That being said, I don't think there's a universe in which Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes is going to get pinned anytime until like possibly WrestleMania. I get the feeling Rock is going to send in this video message, or maybe he'll even show up. I don't know. And he'll basically say, Roman, you screwed up. I had to take matters in my own hands. That's why I made sure Solo Sikoa got the Ula Fala, and you were left with nothing. And an important piece of that was eliminating Paul Heyman and, of course, Jimmy Uso. To a lesser degree, I guess, Jimmy Uso, because Paul Heyman's the wise man. So, and then Roman's got to rebuild the empire. Roman's got to enlist. And Cody probably, you know, thinking, man, this Rock, he's bad news. He's bad business. I got to continue on my quest to rid the WWE of the Bad Bloodline. So he's going to help Roman. They're going to get together. They're going to put together a team War Games, and then it's probably just going to turn into a mess. And at that point, maybe Bad Bloodline can win at War Games because Roman Reigns has simply made too many enemies, and then he'll be on the back foot after War Games. Maybe that's the possibility. But I really don't see either Cody nor Roman eating the pin or submitting or anything like that. I don't see that happening. You know, they should just do a count-out win for the Bad Blood. That'd be terrible. What a terrible idea. I don't even have like a joke lined up for that one. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to happen. But good try, Braden. Let's go on to the next one. The Genuine Fake says the AEW TV deal is proof that this era of wrestling is stronger than the Attitude Era. Wow. When WCW was on top, WWE was in danger. When WWE got back on top, WCW died. The fact that the #2 company got such a good deal is a fantastic sign of health for the industry. I kind of disagree with the historical record here. There was a period there where both WCW and WWE, like, you know, that first stretch in 1998, they were both really healthy companies because the creative for both companies was really good. You had, you know, the ascent of Goldberg. You had some really prime NWO stories going on. And so 98 was a pretty decent year for both companies. This era of wrestling is stronger than the Attitude Era. It's kind of muddy because WCW was owned by Turner. So it's not necessarily like we can match, okay, well, what were the financials coming in? I've talked about this before. I think it is honestly really difficult. I think it's difficult to try and understand what popularity is then and what popularity is now. Because of, so I've said this a million times, because of the way entertainment is consumed, there is no longer kind of a singular popular culture. Things are niched down quite a bit more. And so, you know, what is the total global reach of wrestling now compared to what it was back then? I'm partial to thinking that, I think on one hand, obviously wrestling took up a much bigger chunk of the public consciousness, the popular culture back then than it does now. I think if you ask like normal people various names of who they knew in pro wrestling back in 1998, I think you'd get a lot more names then than you would now if you ask the average people on the street, who's wrestling now? Like, who do you like now? I think that there is a bigger chunk, a bigger percentage of the population consuming popular culture back then that knew about wrestling and understood what was going on, or at least the names involved back then than right now, in which case, by virtue of that definition, wrestling was more popular back then. These days, obviously, when it comes to dollars and cents, wrestling is much more successful now. So I don't know. It's kind of like an apples and oranges thing. But I mean, it's really impressive. The AEW TV deal is really impressive. It's over $500 million over 3 years. That's a really impressive figure right there. And it says a lot about the health of the industry. The last part here, when you say the fact that the number 2 company got such a good deal is a fantastic sign of health for the industry, 1000%. That's a cold take. I agree with that 1000%. This era of wrestling stronger than the Attitude Era? Yes. I would actually say stronger. More popular? That's a different thing. That's a different thing. I don't know what kind of TV deal. Man, I don't know. You got to think if WCW was not owned by Turner, back then, even TV wrestling deals were different, though. Like, they really undervalued wrestling as a televised entity. Like, they were not scoring the kind of deals they are now because they couldn't sell they felt like they couldn't sell the advertising. So, again, I don't know. It's in a really great place. We can all agree it's in a really great place. And it's awesome for the wrestlers. It's awesome for AEW. It's awesome for WWE. So nobody should be being weird, getting weird about it. Right? Honked Off John says, Roman doesn't need to main event every damn card he's in, especially not against CM Punk Drew feud that was carrying Raw while he was on vacation. Insulting. Here's my counter to that, John. And I know there's probably a lot of people who agree with this. I am not one of them. You know why? Because there's one number that I'm going to give you right here. And that number is 1,316. That's how many days Roman Reigns was carrying the company with the Bloodline storyline, John. And that's why the tribal chief, the true tribal chief, the OTC tribal chief, should be main eventing every show that he's on, and he will be main eventing every show he's on. He's Roman Reigns. He's generational. John, I want you to throw your ones up for 1,316 days. Mitchell Holcomb says, heels should just win because they're better sometimes. It seems like a face will be a wrestling machine and winning clean despite the opponent's cheating. Then he turns heel and immediately loses all ability to gain the advantage without cheating. It's also hard to feel any danger for the good guys when heels can just never be better. I agree with this. I think traditionally, though, Mitchell, because I've thought this too. I know he's persona non grata right now, but Brock Lesnar. The one thing about Brock Lesnar I always appreciated is that he was a bad guy who could win clean, and it just pissed everybody off. But I think the problem with that is, and I think traditionally, the idea is bad guys who win clean end up getting over with the crowd, and so they can't really be bad guys anymore. But I'm kind of with you on this. I do think there should be more scary, dominant heels that can just crush people. And if they lose to baby faces, the baby faces need to just sort of eke out the victory. There's not enough of those. There really isn't. Gunther is that guy. These days, Gunther is totally that guy. And it's going to be interesting. I think like lately, ever since he got the world title, ever since he came back from his WrestleMania loss, Gunther, they've been sort of injecting this fabricated heel persona into Gunther, calling Damian Priest street trash, just telling Randy Orton that he's not as successful as he should be. That's kind of corny. So there's like this side of Gunther now, like telling Sami Zayn no over and over again, that they're injecting a little bit of that sports entertainment heel into him because people were starting to really like what he brought to the table because he was just a really, really good wrestler. So it's like, oh, wow, now I'm happy to see Gunther and I'm going to go along with anything he does. Now he's got to sort of fabricate that bad guy persona, but at the same time, with the exception of Finn Balor helping him beat Damian Priest. He wasn't helping him. He was just trying to screw over Damian Priest. With that exception, like the Randy Orton match, we saw Gunther win cleanly. And I agree with you. I think there should be many more wrestlers out there who do that. Unfortunately, sort of the cheaty heel is just, like, I'll be honest, that's why I'm not a big fan of most of MJF's matches, because there are always these long matches that are really, really good, and then in the end, he does the thing. And I wish it didn't have to come down to that. But no, I feel you. I just think that traditionally speaking, promoters have found, because I actually thought about this like a long time ago. I was like, why is this? And I did like a little modicum of research on it. And it's because generally speaking, bad guys who win clean, they just end up being, either you don't get a lot of heat there. You get the wrong heat. You got people liking them. You don't get the, oh, I can't believe you just did that dastardly act, you know? Bennett Brochacho, what a great name, says Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed's feud should end with Bronson Reed poised for a match with Gunther for the world title at a premium live event. Boy, oh boy, I agree with this one. I love Seth Rollins, and I think he's going to be back in the WrestleMania main event-ish scene next year. I hope the Bloodline doesn't clog both night main events. Obviously, Cody's going to be main eventing night 2, probably against The Rock, which probably means, going back to Honk Top John's comment and the Tribal Chief title back there, Roman's probably going to main event night 1. You would think. Unless they do Rock Roman. What if Rock beats Cody at like Saudi Arabia or something like that? That'd be crazy. Going back to this though, I agree. I think Bronson Reed, the trajectory he's on right now, I think it's a really great one. And I think that he should get a shot at Gunther. Obviously lose that match, but boy, oh boy, what a match that would be. Tony the Pokemon guy says having big matches on the Raw or SmackDown before and after instead of the premium live event is a great idea. It makes the show seem important. I agree with this. I think, man, anytime you can load up Raw, like next week or this Monday, we've got Sami Zayn versus Gunther for the world title. I think that's great. Put it on Raw. I want to see good shit when it's on TV. This upcoming Raw is going to be a 2-hour Raw. How are they going to get everything they need to get in a Raw? Isn't that crazy? There was a time when I was like, no, I don't want a 3-hour Raw. It's boring. And then they made it really good. And they're like, well, guess what? Better be careful what you wish for. Caitlin says, not sure how much of a hot take this is, but Finn Balor has never been treated right after getting injured in his first title match with Seth at SummerSlam in 2016. He should be a multi-time world champion. I keep hoping that one day he'll get his flowers because he absolutely deserves a legit world title run. I agree 1,000% with this. I really do. I think that I think the idea was after Finn won, if he had not been injured at SummerSlam, I think he probably just would have ended up losing to Brock at, like, I don't know, Survivor Series or the Rumble or something like that. I don't think he was going to have a significantly long title run. Brock was going to eventually win that title. Yeah, I agree. But here's also the thing about Finn Balor is that from the time that he got injured, from his main roster call-up, until when he went to NXT, which was the first time we sort of saw this Finn Balor. He, creatively speaking, was, if you remember, completely like just not a character. He would do he would smile. Like, I'm still confused as to what that was. Vince just had him come out smiling. That was so confusing. He was like one of the coolest looking guys. And if you look back, hey, you know what? I'll go one further. Here. I think in NXT, Triple H treated him like a big deal. Obviously, he was champion for a long time. That being said, his first run in NXT, he really didn't have a whole lot of personality there either. That always boggled my mind. When you go back and you look at his work as Prince Devitt back in New Japan, it's like, oh, this ball of just, energy is running around being, the real rock and roller. That's what they used to call him. And then he gets to NXT and he's just sort of cool guy. He's not like, that guy that we saw back in New Japan. He's just sort of cool Finn Balor. And yes, he is incredibly cool. Now what we're seeing in Judgment Day is more the Finn Balor that we saw. I saw this tweet today, just today, where somebody had tweeted out a video of him turning on like Adam Cole or whatever it was back when, he was in NXT. And he did the little kick to, wasn't it the kick to Cole? I don't know. He kicked somebody and he turned bad. It was when he turned bad. And they're like, I really wish that we'd get this Finn Balor back. Well, that is the Finn Balor we have right now. That Finn Balor is what we got right now. This is the closest thing we've got to Devitt, to Prince Devitt, to New Japan Prince Devitt that we've ever had. And man, I was hoping for a big role for him, a title guy. But, and maybe it'll happen, but I'm with you on this one. I think the work he's doing right now in WWE is the best work Finn Balor has ever done in WWE. I firmly believe that. I'll be honest with you guys. I know some of you will disagree with this. I kind of love the Judgment Day. I love the street trash iteration of Judgment Day. I think it's a lot of fun. I really do. They're all scumbags. You don't have to worry about like, oh, I like this person's, they're a good guy, they're a bad guy. No. They're all just trash. They're all just awful people. And Finn Balor is like, he's just eating up the scenery whenever he does a promo. I'm kind of sad that Damian Priest is going to win at Bad Blood. He totally is going to win at Bad Blood. But man, I love Finn Balor. I'm with you, Caitlin. I want to see that dude get a world championship. But, I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope so. All right, I just shrink this one down here, but I wanted to read it because it has to do with my former life. Snakeskin here says, I have a non-wrestling hot take. I don't even know if this is a hot take or historically accurate, but when you and Larson left Machinima, that was the final nail in the coffin. You guys and the super best friends carried the brand longer than should have been possible. I appreciate the historical reference there. I really do. For many of you who may or may not know, most of you probably know, me and Larson started our careers as YouTube personalities or whatever you want to call what we do, content creators, with Machinima, which if you don't remember Machinima, maybe you're too young for that, I don't know. It's a big time video game content creation company that was like one of the first big YouTube channels that was monetizing content. They were at one time the top subscribed to channel on YouTube. This is going back over 10 years, a long time. 15 years ago. And then in 2015, the guys who were Inside Gaming left to go start Funhouse, and then they laid off like a bunch of talent, and we were laid off as well, and they were basically left with no talent whatsoever. So when you say when Larson and I left Machinima, that was the final nail in the coffin, I mean, to a degree from a talent standpoint, I'll be honest, I feel like Inside Gaming leaving Machinima was the final nail in the coffin because they were like the anchor programming for Machinima. Everybody else kind of rode on their coattails. Although at the time, 10 for the Win was doing the best numbers we had ever done, and those fools did not know how to monetize it, which is crazy. Like each episode was doing like 200 to 300 to 400,000 views, and they didn't know how to monetize that. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like it wasn't us. It was the crew before us that left. That I think Machinima at that point were like, well, like our anchor programming, our major franchise is gone. All the rest was sort of off of their backs to a degree. We had good numbers, but to a degree. And instead of like, giving us like raises and being like, hey, you guys really need to fill in this spot now, they were just like, okay, yeah, goodbye now. I got a severance package though, so that was nice. Biz Cass Fry says Bianca Belair has lost a lot of her aura since teaming with Jade. I disagree with this. However, I will say this. It's probably more difficult because she's not in a prominent, I mean, let's be honest, the aura spots, if you will, the roles where people are placed prominently and they get their own poster for the premium live event, et cetera, those are for the singles competitors. I'm not going to say she's lost a lot of her aura. I'm going to say that she has cooled off a little bit because they really don't book the tag scene all that great in WWE across the board, men or women. I feel like as soon as she gets back into a single situation, that will all just come back. And I still do kind of get goosebumps when they have their entrance, Jade, because Jade's entrance is so good. She looks like, I'll be honest with you guys, like when I see Jade And I understand the work rate thing might not be there, but I see nothing but $1 million. And when I think of wrestling, one aspect of wrestling is the larger than life personalities, the people that it's like, oh my God, people aspire, people like, you know, work their asses off every day to get a presentation like this, and they'll never get it. They both look absolutely amazing. They've got terrific chemistry. It's just the stories aren't really there. That's the bottom line. The stories aren't really there. So then it's just sort of like, well, the Unholy Union won the titles. Okay. And now Damage Control's coming after Bianca and Jade, and Bianca and Jade probably should use, like, they probably could stand to have a dual entrance, but then both of their theme songs are just so good. Both of their individual entrances are so good. So I don't know. I kind of understand this because she's with somebody else. And like, I get what you're saying, but I feel like as soon as she gets back in the singles division, it'll all come back. And I still think that the two of them together, I think, like, when I saw them on NXT, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, that's cool as shit. So I think together they still have quite a bit of aura, and I'm cool with them, man. I like them. Rob Observer says Yuta heads are indeed eating good. I got bad news for you, Rob. Larson thinks that Wheeler Yuta is going to turn on Bryan Danielson at this upcoming pay-per-view. In which case, I don't know. I guess that's still going to be the Yuta heads eating good because he's going to be involved in stuff. How you doing, Rob? I hope you're doing good. Been a while since we talked. DMD says Dom Mysterio should win next year's Money in the Bank and have a lengthy world title reign, 9 months or so. I agree with the first part. I love Dom. He's like one of my favorite characters right now in WWE. I'd love to see him with Money in the Bank. I think it'd be awesome. A lengthy world title reign? I don't know about that. I could see him being like, having like a 1 month title reign. Ooh, boy, oh boy, that'd be controversial. Crunchy Taco says Triple H just gave Shawn Michaels his version of the NXT Black and Gold era fire emote. Yeah, he did. It's kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome, but he totally did that. You can't look at this past Tuesday's NXT and not know that. Skiwalker says Cena and Punk 1,000%, 10,000% should have had a Mania main event match. The right time was 29. Brock could have faced Rock that year like he was supposed to at 30. Ooh, man, I agree. How can you not agree that Cena and Punk should have had a WrestleMania main event? I agree. I always felt that Punk should have been added to the Rock Cena thing, because then I think Punk takes that segment of fans that were like me. I was just a CM Punk guy back then. And you add that to the WrestleMania main event. I think that's like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do that? That could have been amazing, but we got what we got. NM says end credits after live shows are ridiculous. What are you talking about, man? People need their flowers. I'd love to know who the executive producers are. Now I know it's Triple H and Lee Fitting, and then if it's NXT, you got Shawn Michaels in there as well. I want more credits. Give me more credits. I want a whole scroll of just like this person. I want to know who's on the cameras. I want to see like the real names of the wrestlers, like starring Austin, whatever Austin Theory's real name is, as Austin Theory. Grayson, I don't know what's give me a real name, but Kobe Lopez, isn't it Kobe Lopez? Isn't that Seth Rollins? I think that's his name. If it's not, Drew Galloway as Drew McIntyre. Who else is there? Let's see here. Rollins, Rebecca Quinn as Becky Lynch. A Quinn Martin production, you know, all that kind of shit. Anyways, that's going to do it for Hot Takes. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.